In the early 17th century, as Europe was on the cusp of enlightenment, whispers of an enigmatic order began to spread. This was the Rosicrucian Brotherhood, a secret society shrouded in mystery and dedicated to the pursuit of esoteric knowledge and spiritual enlightenment. Unlike other secret orders, the Rosicrucians combine the wisdom of ancient alchemy, the mysticism of the East, and the burgeoning scientific curiosity of the Renaissance to unlock the deepest secrets of personal power. The Rosicrucians were said to have inherited the knowledge of an elusive figure named Christian Rosicrucians, a mystic who allegedly traveled through the Near East, learning the arcane skills of Egyptian, Persian, and Arabian sages. Upon his return, he founded a brotherhood with the mission of sharing this profound wisdom. The Rosicrucians believed that true personal power lay in the mastery of both the seen and unseen forces of the universe. They sought to harmonize the material and spiritual realms, understanding that the microcosm of the individual reflected the macrocosm of the cosmos. Central to their teachings was transmutation, inspired by alchemy but focused on transforming the human soul. Through meditation, self-discipline, and esoteric rituals, they aim to elevate base desires into noble virtues. Their symbols, such as the rose and cross, represented inner wisdom and the union of the divine and human. The Rosicrucians emphasized the interconnectedness of all life and aligning with natural laws to access infinite power and wisdom, with their secret doctrines guiding a journey of self-discovery and enlightenment. The influence of the Rosicrucians' ideals spread, inspiring prominent figures like Isaac Newton and John Wolfgang. The Rosicrucians taught that true empowerment came from internal mastery and realizing one's highest potential. Their principles of transmutation, harmony, and enlightenment offer a timeless path to personal transformation, emphasizing that the greatest power arises from within through disciplined cultivation of the mind, the body, and the spirit. But wherein lies the practical application in such a compelling doctrine for the Rosicrucians? Here is delineated by the coiled serpent the real practical application of the Rosicrucians that I will begin to unfold right now. So the real Rosicrucians, the true Rosicrucians, bound themselves to absolute chastity. But why? Why is there so much continuity in this particular practice? Towering above any organization or occupation of ordinary humans, there seems to have existed and still may exist a secret society of men possessing superhuman powers, a brotherhood consisting of some of the highest evolved individuals of the human race. Although very few authentic records about them can be found, there is evidence that they used a super-Masonic symbolism, carefully kept from crystallizing into a mere ceremony, a super-alchemic hermetic system not requiring laboratory experiments, a super-occultism enabling them to be consciously active on other planes of existence than the physical, and a super science giving them an understanding of the workings of nature's finest forces back from all natural phenomenon. This particular introduction immediately makes me think about Autobiography of a Yogi. For those of you that have read this wonderful text, you get thrust into this world of sages and sadhus and gurus and individuals who possess powers that are unfathomable. And the unflinching nature in which this is threaded through the book, as if it's an everyday life occurrence, is so compelling to read. Like mystics who can create fragrances out of nowhere. There was a sage or the sadhu who could create any fragrance he wanted right in front of you. You name a rose fragrance and he could create it right in front of you. So individuals having this interplay in the physical and the non-physical realm. So nonchalant it's espoused in this particular book. So there's continuity again with some of the Eastern teachings here that are threaded through this particular idea. According to this viewpoint, the true Rosicrucian brotherhoods consisted of a limited number of highly developed adepts who taught the mystery of the human regeneration through the transmutation of the base elements, man's lower nature, into the gold of the spiritual realization. So here we have the philosopher's stone. We have inner alchemy. We have transmutation of a piece of lead into a piece of gold, from the unremarkable to the remarkable. And the Rosicrucians, they say, why can't we do the same? And some of the sources in which they get this information is originated in those Eastern Vedic traditions, bringing it over to Europe and starting to build other circles on this key occult, secret occult power. The real objects of those adepts were to remain no longer slaves to those things supposed to be necessities, and to rise superior to the sexual degradation. Their principles are in every way the correspondent to ancient wisdom. That their philosophy substantiates the purification ideal presented in this volume can be seen from a few lines taken from a tract which is governed or considered to be genuinely Rosicrucian in its nature. So instead of governing the senses, man became involved in sensation. He fell from spirit into matter, and now is the object of his efforts to regain his former position. He is still engaged in the battle of the senses against the spirit. Notice the continuity of the parlance, the word choice here. The fall. What does that make you think of? The fall, the story of the fall. Adam and Eve falling from heaven. This heaven state of mind into hell. Or from prefrontal cortex into limbic system, right? From higher spiritual domain into lower animal, earth, carnality, and dirt. Much of scripture, much of this very, profound and glorified and adhered to texts is more symbolic than it is physically true. But if you're too close to the painting, you will fail to see the full picture of it. And that's the difference between ideologues, between religious zealots, and those individuals that are interpreting the text as the divine would have us interpret the text too, as a means to instill practical application into our daily experience in order to rise back into the Garden of Eden, back into heaven. He wants to become spiritualized, but his body attracts him to the senses by thousands of charms. His power of returning depends entirely on his power to subdue everything that renders obscure his inner nature. If even the merely sensual is deemed to obscure it, how much more sensuality eclipses a man's inner spiritual nature? A real Rosicrucian has been described as an individual who, by the process of spiritual awakening, has attained a practical knowledge of the secret significance of the symbols of the rose and the cross. So this is a very, very important point. And going back to the latter point I made about symbolism, it is everything. It is the key. But if you're looking too close, you'll miss out on the message. This secret meaning can be partly understood from such statements as, that flower blossom by unfolding has caused them to be chosen as a symbol of spiritual unfoldment. And look at the symbolism of a flower, of the rose, right? It has roots going deep into the earth, which is drawing up nutrients or energy, more simply put, that moves through the roots into the stem, and it is transmuted up the stem, and that energy allows the flower to unfold and reveal it, the crown to reveal itself. In a not too dissimilar way, the human being must draw from the earth, from the root of his spine, all that nutrients, all that power, all that vitality, all that life force, up the stem of his own spine, into his cerebral, into the grey, to allow the petal of the crown, the 1,000-petaled flower, to open and blossom to commune with divine. But if the roots are strangled, if the energy is going out of the roots, how then does the flower blossom. And the cross is symbolic of the human body. When the rose is on the cross, the two symbols together signify that the soul of man is crucified upon the body. With its material ties and tendency, the body holds the soul in tortuous bondage until man rises from the physical generation to spiritual regeneration. A practical knowledge of this symbolism may well have been the reason why the Rosicrucians became renowned for the extreme purity in their lives. At the present time, there are many societies publicly working under Rosicrucian names, but when one does not see in such a society a manifestation of real Rosicrucian life, it must be doubted whether any connection with the original fraternity exists beyond an appropriation of the name. For only when he lives the Rosicrucian life can the disciple ever discover the secrets of that sublime fraternity. What the truly Rosicrucian life involves is clearly laid down in one of the rules of the order, stating that no married man should be eligible for the initiation as the brother. A lot of continuity here with brahmacharya. And why this restriction was made can be deducted from the sentence in a widely spread Rosicrucian manifesto, which describes the original group working with the founder of the order as all bachelors and of vowed virginity. And the real Rosicrucian life is therefore one of strict celibacy. And if this was deemed basically essential for the high spiritual standards of the Rosicrucian activities, the first step for anyone who wishes to rise out of an ordinary material existence obviously must be to diminish the wasteful shattering of that life force. This is brahmacharya in its essence. And I am so sure that those aforementioned leaders had learned from the Vedas or learned from Vedic teachings. In that way only will it ever become possible to discover the existence of real Rosicrucians and to understand the full significance of their teachings. So a lot of crossover, not just with the Vedic tradition, but also the Freemasons, as we talked about previously. Very, very compelling. And it's interesting, the latter point of that, talking about how there may be fraternities, there may be circles out there that claim to be Rosicrucian in nature, but if they are not governed by one of the key manifestos in Rosicrucian, which is an element of brahmacharya, of purity and non-degradation in their life force, then they are just playing dress up. They are just playing pretend. So brother, are you playing pretend, or are you adhering to these manifestos? Let me know in the comments. Are these theories, are these facts? Speak soon.